Having a super fantastic sparkling day. Welcome to Porchlight Letters podcast number 2556. And it is a super fantastic sparkling day because today is the day of year 7 of doing lives every day for a year. Well, that was my original challenge. So for the last 7 years, I have done a live every day without skipping a day. There was one day where it didn't go live because we were out in the boonies with no internet connection at all. I've got my notes here. With no internet connection at all, and the rule is that if we're nowhere, because I was traveling the RV, if there was nowhere where we had internet connection, then I could post it as soon as we got internet connection. We got back on the Wi-Fi and all of that. We were at a campground out the back of San Bernardino, and it was the back of Beyond. It was out in the Wops. They did have a room that had boosters for the Wi-Fi connection, but it was a mile across the other side of the campground from where we were. In the dark, no, not walking that. Through trees and trails and all that sort of stuff. Nope. And I had no idea where it was. I didn't get to see it in the daylight. And I was just sort of like, I'm just going to record it and post it the next day, which is what I did. But we've been going for 2,556 days, which is 7 years. Tomorrow, it'll be the 1st of August here in New Zealand. We start year 8. And for now, we're still going to keep going. So we're going to look back over the last 7 years. And how did this also, people go, oh, how did you get into doing Facebook, doing lives every day? I said, it was very simple. My very dear friend Casey, who was supposed to be on with us today, but due to personal reasons and stuff, he wasn't available. And that's totally okay. So I'm doing my first anniversary without Casey. And Casey, I miss you. Hope everything's going well and that your travel day went smoothly. So let's have a look and see back over the last 7 years. So it started back when Casey asked me back in July of 2019. He said, Helen, he basically went like this. Helen, I have a challenge for you. What is it? I want you to do a Facebook Live every day for a year. I went, okay. That was a conversation, just like that speed and everything. And first of all, I have to say hello to TikTok. We're live on TikTok at the same time. So I hope you guys are enjoying it. We're just talking about my last 7 years of doing lives every day for 7 years. And we're still going. Tomorrow will be beginning of year 8. So that's how we started it. I got issued a challenge to do a Facebook Live every day for a year. And here we are 7 years later. No idea at the time that we would be here still doing lives every day. Now, during COVID, there were times when I was doing 2 or 3 lives a day. I definitely had a morning and an afternoon one for a couple of years there. And there were some days where we did 3 or 4 lives. We were out traveling in the RV and would pull over somewhere to show you guys a really cool view that we were looking at. Maybe we were just having a break on the side of the road and we showed you that. So it's been close. It's been about just over 30. It's been over 3,700. Yeah. So get this. We've been doing this for 2,556 days in a row, consecutive days, all in a row, and we've done over 3,700 podcasts during that time. Yes, so some days there were more than one. It's been an incredible adventure so far. It still blows my mind that we're here. So we started off as Helen's Great Adventure. That's what the podcast was called back when we started. We started on the 1st of August, 2019, and that was the day that we left San Diego to head on a 3,227-mile journey in 27 days with my parents in my RV that I had purchased in May of that year. May 4th, exactly. May 4th, 2019. Yes, it was Star Wars Day. That was my late husband's sign to me that was the one to get. We had a conversation about signs later on. Anyway, so it started. So we were following RV. What's it like living in an RV full time? So we started that journey across as we traveled around and everything else. And it started off as by myself, but then my parents came over and we spent 27 days traveling around. We went to, we started in California. We went to Vegas. We went to Moab. Then in Utah, from Moab, we drove up to Salt Lake City. From Salt Lake City, we drove to Boise, Idaho. Met up with cousins up there. My dad had some first cousins up there, so we went up and visited them. Then from there, we went to, what was the name of that place? was just the other side, just inside Washington, right by there by the river. It was a really cool camp place too. And we went from there to a place out in the boonies north of Seattle. From there, we went up to Vancouver, British Columbia, came back down through to, where did we stay? We stayed out just outside of Portland, Oregon. Then we went down to, I think it was Phoenix in Oregon is where we went next. Then it was Redding, California. Then it was out the back of the Wops in San Bernardino. No, there was another place in between, I think. No, Redding, and then San Bernardino to a place in the middle of somewhere in California then, and then back to San Diego. So it was 3,227 miles in 27 days. So it was pretty intense. It was my first It was my first time driving the RV any great distance. I'd never driven, and it was a 33-foot Class A. For those in New Zealand or not from the US, that the Class A is like a bus. It was a 33-foot long bus, but it had pop-outs on the side. My parents got the bedroom. I got the couch. It was fine. And we had a great adventure. We got to see some really cool stuff. So that was the beginning of the Helen's Great Adventures podcast that we were doing. So there was the RV life, traveling America, basically just documenting what life was like living in an RV, the different challenges that you face living in an RV than if you're living in a house or an apartment. We had no agenda. We had no agenda whatsoever as we were going, what we were doing. We were showing people and places that we went along the way. We just basically shared our adventures. And then all of a sudden on November the 16th, 2019, I did a very special, I'm going to see if I can do this without crying, a very special podcast introducing my little girl, Zeffie. She was a mini German Shepherd. She was 8.5 months old, and I had adopted her that day. I sat with her for 3 hours. I was meant to go and do some work because the place where I was staying in the RV had no Wi-Fi available unless you were up basically in the office buildings. So I had to go and sit up, drive my car up to there to get on my phone at night to do my podcasts. But for work-wise, it wasn't the greatest signal. So there was a corner bakery down about 5 miles down the road. So I thought, well, I'll go there, have some lunch, use their Wi-Fi to get some work done, then go across the mall because it was part of a shopping center and go to Sprouts, get some groceries, and then come back home. 3 hours later, I went home. No work done, no groceries done, but I had a dog and all of her supplies. And she was the most gorgeous little 8.5-month-old pup. And we had some great adventures. And she came and lived with me in the RV, and we went tootling around America. We had some great adventures together until she passed on the 27th of July last year after 9.5 hours of seizures. She quietly left this world. And my hand was on her chest when she took her last breath, and all of a sudden I couldn't feel her heartbeat and I couldn't feel her breathing. So I gave her a little shake. She was gone. It was, but she was my everything. We had a great time because up until then I kind of been I was still trying to figure out what was happening after Brad, and Brad passed in September 2017, and I was still trying to deal with that and figure things out. But putting her in my life helped with the depression. It helped with the anxiety. It helped with the loneliness. I was now forced to go out walking at least twice a day, take her for a walk around the different campgrounds they had. Some of them had dog parks, so she was able to go for a run in those and do Zooms. She loved to Zoom. She loved to Zoomies. We'd go walking around the actual park and everything else. And so she became a constant companion. Sometimes she'd come on the lives with me. She'd just appear in the background. In my office in Arizona for the last 2.5 years, there was a recliner that sat behind me, and quite often in the podcast, you could see her just resting her head on the armrest, because that's where and I could feel her eyes. And even after she passed and I'd be sitting there working, I could still feel like she was there, and I'd turn around to look at her. And of course there was nobody there, but I could still feel her watching me. Then of course, COVID happened at the beginning of 2020. And we had actually we'd heard about this thing called COVID. There was a couple of ships that had been quarantined because a couple of their the crew members had come down with COVID. But we started our road journey. We had planned this road journey. We were going to go across the I-10 of the US. We started from San Diego, went across the I-10 to Florida. Had some great adventures along the way. And when we got to Florida, everything was fine. We were in this park there for 2 weeks, and it was a park that I could, they had a nice big park, and it was one that I could stay at for free with my Thousand Trails membership. And I could actually get 3 weeks. And so I called up to see if I get a third week. They said, we can't give you a third week, but Orlando is open. And so we then moved to Orlando, from where we were in whatever part of the greater Orlando area we were in. We drove about 10 minutes down the road to the Thousand Trails, which is behind Disney World. Well, Disney World was closed at the time, so there was plenty of space. And we went in there for the 2 weeks. And then I called them up on a Thursday evening and said, can we stay our third week? And they said, we're just going through all of those requests right now. We'll give you a call back tomorrow. They called me back tomorrow to tell me that the governor of Florida had locked Florida down, so we couldn't leave. And were we okay to stay until the 1st of May? Now, this is in March. And we'll be staying until the 1st of May. And we said, fine. So 1st of May came close, and I had learned by then that the monthly people left on the 1st of the month, and then the new monthly people came in for those staying a month. And so I called up the office and said, I really don't want to leave on the 1st of May with everybody else that's going to be leaving, because I know there's going to be a lot of people leaving. Can I stay an extra week? And they went, absolutely. So we actually left there on the 8th of May. But during that time in the campground, we made some new friends there. They had a great dog park that Zeffie loved going down to and loved running around. And she got to meet some of the other dogs that were in the campground. There was one dog there, was an Australian Shepherd, and that dog and Zeffie just zoomed around the park like crazy. And at one point, Zeffie goes to jump on comes zooming along because she sees her friend coming in. Her friend comes in, she zooms along and literally spun around this dog's belly. Like she goes to leap over and suddenly dives underneath and back up and lands on top of the dog after going around between the legs and back onto the top, and then just took off again. And the dog just took off after her. So they had some great adventures. She made lots of great friends along the way. So yes, we got locked down in Orlando for 9 weeks. Not a big deal. I had friends who lived in the area, and they very graciously had an extra car at the time because my friend Tony had just purchased his car. And he said, hey, look, we've still got Bertha. You're welcome to use Bertha if you like. And I said, thank you very much. And Bertha came in very handy. There was a Walmart like 4 miles down the road that we would go do our grocery shopping at. Masks were not required in Florida, which was, for me, was awesome because I panic attack with masks, as my dentist found out February of 2019. Yeah, that was not a nice time at the dentist. Haven't been back to a dentist since. I don't know what it is with dentists. Yeah, tell you. But, our daily lives continued. And at that point, I was doing 2 lives a day regularly because, give people a good start to the day, give them a good end to the day. So they still felt good, even though they felt isolated and everything else, just trying to give them, things that they can go and do while they're at home. So that was all part of Helen's Great Adventure. What have I got on here? And we'll do random broadcasts throughout the day as well. And the consistency it's been consistent. I try to get on at the same time every day. Sometimes it doesn't always work because I finish work at 11 a.m. This is 1 p.m. for me. And I sometimes fall asleep in between the two. And today that almost happened because I started work at 2 a.m. I had to get up at 1 o'clock this morning to be online at 2 o'clock to match the time in the States when the Help Chat opened. And I finished at 11 o'clock. I was doing a double shift covering for my friend who also works with me because she was off doing her weekend thing, which is totally fine. And I've got to do that again on Tuesday, my time, for Monday in the US. Then we changed, and then after 3 years of Helen's Great Adventures, we changed it to Before the Dirt Nap. I'd become a little more settled in the RV. I was living permanently in one of the RV parks. And Before the Dirt Nap is, what is it you want to do before you die? What do you want to do before you die? And how you can go about doing these sorts of things. Hi to all of those on TikTok. Thank you for popping in to say hi. We appreciate it. Share some hearts with us if you like. It will be absolutely awesome. Thank you. Let's see, where are we up to? Before the Dirt Nap. So Before the Dirt Nap was a concept. I had my Before the Dirt Nap mug in here earlier with my hot chocolate in it. I'm in the middle of winter in New Zealand. It's actually quite nice right now because I am wearing a t-shirt instead of being bundled up. The temperatures are quite nice today. So Before the Dirt Nap is, it became less about traveling and more about living. And how to live in the moment, to live for today, to live with intention, and doing things before it's too late, doing things that you want to do before you can no longer do them. A lot of people wait to do their traveling until they're retired, but by the time they get to retired, there's all these different health challenges that they may have, so they never get to go and do anything. I remember sitting in, what was it? Peppermill Casino in Reno. And we're sitting outside the restaurant area waiting to be seated. And there was 3 older people sitting next to us. One of them was sitting on the seat of her stroller. The other 2 were sitting on the bench there waiting, and we were just a couple of feet away. And there was this rolling like billboard thing, those digital ones, and it was showing all these beautiful, absolutely gorgeous scenic photographs from different places around the world. And they were busy looking at them and commenting on them. And some of them says, yeah, that's all I'll ever get to see. They said, I wanted to go traveling and I just waited for someday. And I'm like, and all I'm thinking of is back to the time when Brad had his first round of cancer, and I was in the cancer caregivers group, and we were talking about don't put something off till someday, because someday never comes. And it doesn't. If you say someday I will do this, unless you plan it and put a date on it, it ain't going to happen. So get someday out of your vocab. Like I tell people, if they turn and say, oh, I want to come to New Zealand, go when? They go someday. I said, when? And I'll keep pushing them until they give me a yes. I said, okay, start planning it. Go find yourself a certified New Zealand specialist, and Tourism New Zealand has a list of them on their website that are specialists who have been trained by Tourism New Zealand about New Zealand. Part of their thing to be in there is they have to have actually visited New Zealand as well for some of the levels of qualification that they get, and they've got different levels that they have to go through. When I was there, gold was the last one, or was I at platinum? I was whatever their top tier one was, either gold or platinum. But find yourself a certified New Zealand specialist through tourism that's been through Tourism New Zealand, through Tourism New Zealand, and book your trip with them, because if they've got the top tiered thing, they've been through an intensive courses, and they've also visited New Zealand as well. So hang on to those people. The other one you can go to is Down Under Answers. No, they're not Down Under Answers anymore, or are they? I think they're still Down Under Answers. They are phenomenal. So if you want a trip down to New Zealand, go book it. Stop putting someday on everything and start putting dates on things. Like, in 2027, this is the big adventure I'm going to do. And give yourself a big adventure once a year, like some big blowout thing, whether it's going on a trip somewhere, to a trip to, I don't know, Asia or Europe or Australia or New Zealand or the States or South America. Have that one big goal that you want to do every year, to go do something big, and then do these little mini vacations throughout the year where you do a 4 to 5 day weekend and you go off and do something. You'd be surprised. You will end up doing more than the average person will do as far as life adventures go. So before the Dirt Nap was all about living intentionally, doing things before it was too late, and even just helping others. So we kept Before the Dirt Nap for a couple of years, and then we changed to Porchlight Letters 2 years ago. And this was, again, talking about today's purpose, but moving it away from the getting stuff done before you die, before the Dirt Nap. And Porchlight Letters came around because there's that time of the day, and this is the time of the day that I love, where you can sit on the porch. It's either dusk or it's dawn, depending which time of the day you do it. And dawn, I love that because you hear the world wake up around you. And then at dusk, you start hearing all the birds starting to settle down, and lights start coming on and things like that. And that's that time of the day where you usually sit and reflect. And you'll pull out your journal. You may do some journaling as well. And it became more of a conversation type of thing. There's stories, there were lessons, encouragement. And we just met on the porch, under the porch light. We always had the porch light on. We actually have a school community as well. I don't have the QR code up for that one, where you can come in and just sit and have a conversation. Give them little quotes and things, and I'll put up little memes and all that. So I haven't done that for a little bit. I've got to get back in there. And now we've morphed again, but we're still Porchlight Letters at the moment, because now we're morphed into more doing genealogy and helping you get around those brick walls, asking questions like, where was your family when they got their first telephone? Where was your family when they had their first date? So asking parents and grandparents and great-grandparents, whoever you have around, in your family, asking them, when did you first meet? When did you go on your first date? How did you propose? What was your wedding like? Just asking about kind of everyday things. What was your first day of school like? How many schools did you attend over your lifetime? Just asking these little questions along the way, and just normal life questions, because it helps complete the story. And based on the time of when they were born and when they experienced these things, where were you when they landed on the moon on the 20th of July 1969? That was 57 years ago. Who's around that you can ask about that? What do they remember about that day? I had a friend who said that they watched it on television. They had a color television, but it was broadcast in black and white. And so that was kind of cool to know that. But just asking people about their memories of certain things, like when Queen Elizabeth II died and Prince Charles became King Charles III, I had a call in with my parents, and I said, well, what do you remember about when the Queen died? And they said, well, they didn't have television back then, because I was asking about the coronation, because coronation was coming up. Hence, I got my tiara at that point too. It's a little crooked. There we go. No, that's still... This is awkward when you're doing it back to front in the mirror. There we go. That kind of, I'll just leave it at that. And that's when I got my tiara off Amazon the day of the coronation, delivered same day. It was awesome. That's one thing I miss about not being in the States. I don't get same day delivery on Amazon anymore for free. It takes about a week, but that's okay. We're fine. We can deal with it because we're not living the fast lane anymore. That was the other thing that we taught in Porchlight Porchlight Letters is, instead of living to work, which is America's philosophy, they live to work. We're now laid back and doing the work to live philosophy, which is very different, making sure you have to do the work that you need to do, and then moving into just working to live. Well, I'll tell you what's really cool with my place is it's kind of a main road out here. There's a park just down the street, a couple of blocks down the street, and the number of families that will walk past at a certain time of the day, depending on whether you're in winter or summer, that will walk down there, kids will play in the park, and then you see them walking back together. The kids will be riding their bikes or their scooters, and they just go down and have family time in the park. Sometimes when you see the kids get off the school bus, you'll see them heading home, and then maybe about a half an hour later, you'll see them heading down to the park. It's kind of cool to live that. That's that work to live philosophy, allowing the time to enjoy life, allowing the time to just be present and in the moment. Whereas in the States, it was go, 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 go the whole time. So that's the Porchlight. So now we're moving more into genealogy, and actually we've been doing that a few months now. And we started asking questions like, where was your family when? And then we'll put a question on the end. When you maybe broke your first bone. I know, horrible thing to think about. But these stories that you then uncover and leave behind are for future generations. As my friend Francesca said, we are the ancestors of our future generation. So if they want to go and look up us and research us to put in their family tree and stuff, what are they going to find out about us? Why not leave stuff behind? These 7 years of lives that I've got stacked up now, they're all basically journal entries. Yeah, because when we're asking the question, if I've got stories to tell from my own personal experiences, I put them in there. My stories are now recorded. So take the time out to record. Hang on, this is annoying me. It's feeling crooked. Hang on. Got to put this back on right. There we go. That feels better. The little thingies on the side were digging into my head. So I've been recording my story along the way, and also some of the stuff that my parents will tell me as well, where I will go in and tell things. And then there's client stories rolled into there, but I don't tell you who they are or what they are, but I just tell you a client, and that's all you get to know. So what have I learned in the last 7 years? In the last 7 years, consistency beats motivation every time. You got to be consistent. There was one time we're in the RV and I'm getting ready for bed that night and I'm brushing my teeth and I suddenly go, it's 11:40, I think it was, around 11:40, because it's close to midnight. And I'm brushing my teeth and I suddenly stopped and I looked at Zeffie. She was on the bed. And I said to her, did I do my live tonight? And she just pops her head up, looks at me, and then puts her head back down, like, well, I don't know. And I'm like standing there brushing my teeth, thinking, I don't think I did my live tonight. So I finished brushing my teeth, went and got on the computer, found out I had not done my live that night. So I went live right there and then, and got it done and got it completed before midnight. So I almost screwed it up. That was the closest I came to not doing it. And then flying back from the US to New Zealand, when I moved back to New Zealand in November, we did this big walk. I had to walk like a couple of miles to get to the gate. I had no idea where I was going. I'm just following signs. It's white everywhere, white floor, white ceilings, white walls, all white. None of those people mover things. There was one. And you get to the end of that. And it basically took you from the Thomas Bradley terminal, the Tom Bradley terminal in LAX, from the main building where you check in, through TSA. And then I had to follow this thing. And then that took you down this great big long flight of stairs. There were escalators that you could use. That was okay. And you get there and you start walking, and you're going under the taxiway that is directly above you to the other building, to the outbuilding over yonder. And then you have to go back up again to the other side. Then you had to wind your way through all these things and go up this little short step, little short steps here, there's little short steps there. I'm like almost drenched in sweat. I've got my carry-on with me. I've got my backpack on, which goes under the seat, and I have my little wheelie one with me. And I thought, well, maybe I'll just put my backpack on the wheelie one. Yeah, that didn't work. And then up these little flights of stairs, and then we had to turn around and like almost come back again, because they took us to the far side of the building. We had to come back again to find my gate. It was a long walk. That's what I would tell you. It was a very long walk. No idea where I was going. No idea if, like, when I left all the stores there, would I have stores in the other building, because I still needed to get my book to read on the plane. I have a thing when I go to the airport. After I'm checked in, I go stop at a bookstore, usually find where my gate is, then go find the bookstore and purchase a hardback. And it either has to be Brad Thor, David Baldacci, or James Patterson, one of those three authors, one I haven't read before, that I will then read on the flight. So yeah, it's I know, crazy. I can't read a Kindle on a plane. Don't ask me why. I don't know. I just cannot read a Kindle on a plane. So I have to have a physical book. And I usually like the hard book because it doesn't look so beaten up at the end of the trip. Most of the times I will get the book read on the flight to New Zealand. It's a 12-hour flight down to New Zealand. It's 2 meals, 2 movies, and a sleep. You get on the plane, you can actually start watching a movie as soon as you get on, but it pauses every time they do public announcements. And if you've ever boarded a plane, you know how many public announcements are done before they actually close the doors, do the safety check, and then you take off. A lot. How many we got? Oh, we got a lot of people watching today. Hi, everybody on TikTok. Hope you're having a super fantastic sparkling day. If you're enjoying this, please leave us some hearts. We would love that. Thank you very much. And so I finally got there, and there was a bookstore right before my gate, because I could see my gate, and I'm like, okay, and the bookstore was right next to it. So popped into the bookstore, got my book. I don't remember which one I got. Was that the 6:30? It might have been the 6:30 Man by David Baldacci. It might have been that one. Pretty sure it was that one. Yeah, the 6:30 Man by David Baldacci. The beginning of a new book series of his. Really good book. I didn't finish it till after I got to New Zealand. For some reason, when I'm heading to New Zealand whenever I headed from the US to New Zealand, I could sleep pretty well on the plane. If I was heading from New Zealand back home to the US when I was living there, I could not sleep on the flight. Here I am excited to go see my parents in New Zealand, and I slept like a baby. Going back home again, I couldn't sleep. I thought it would be the other way around, but that's how it was. Anyway, so consistency beats motivation every time, because I knew I had to be on to do my lives at a certain time each day. For me, it's at 1 p.m. in the afternoon currently, because that is 6 p.m. in Pacific time in the US. Perfection is, and under the consistency beats motivation. There are days that I felt like not doing it. I was like, oh, I've got to go do a live. And I really did not feel like doing it, but I did it anyway to keep that consistency, because I was being consistent. So do it anyway. And it's like anything. If there's a seminar that you've been excited about, and all of a sudden you get to the day and you're like, I really don't feel like going, go. And the reason that you go on the day, even if you don't feel like going on the day, go anyway, because I have found on the ones where I don't want to go, I get the most out of the sessions. Like if there's my mastermind, my mastermind calls on that day, I kind of have to go now. But if mastermind calls on and there's days I'm like, I really don't want to go, but I go there and I get the most information out of it, and the most help, and the most push forward on all that. Another lesson I've learned is perfection is overrated. Some episodes are amazing and some are crap. But I showed up anyway. Some days it was just completely off the cuff, and other days it was sort of like, okay, we've got bullet points we can follow. Now we're doing bullet points that we can follow. We try and get prepared beforehand. And like my friend Casey always said, he would tell people when they start doing their lives and things and start getting on video and doing more on video, they turn around and say things like, your first 50 will suck. And I'm like sitting there thinking, and so will episode number blah, 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 blah. There'll be days that you just completely suck. And you know it. You get offline and you go, oh man, that was terrible. Yet you still get messages, people messaging you going, that was a fantastic episode. So much. Da, 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 da. You may have felt like it didn't come across, but the message got across to whoever needed to hear it. And there are days that you don't even know who's going to be watching this or watching the replays. And I go in and I have a look. Like I went and had a look the other day, and I'm always checking the numbers. But Canada Day, which was the 1st of July, has had 91 replays on it. And I'm sort of like, that's pretty cool. Now, I'm not up there ranking with all these that get the millions of views and the hundreds and thousands and all that, and that's okay. To me, 91 was sort of like, wow, they outnumbered the Americans for Independence Day. Yes, the Canada Day one outranked the 4th of July one we did. And we were pretty cool in that. We had my 4th of July hat on for the 250th anniversary. We played the song. America celebrates 250 years that I wrote. I did the music and the vocals for it. We did all of that, and I think we just got into double digits on the replays on that one, whereas Canada Day, 91. Awesome. People go, that's not many. And I'm like, for me, it was a lot. Okay. I'm not here doing this to get thousands and thousands and thousands of views. I just want to help people. That's all. Let's see. People follow people. The audience basically watched life happen. They've seen the good, the bad, the ugly, the heartbreaking, the funny moments. Some of the hardest ones I have ever done is anniversaries of Brad's passing, because it's a very emotional one for me. His birthday ones, our wedding anniversary is always a tough one. Having to do the day Zephy passed. 27th of July last year was a very, very hard one to do because Zephy had passed at 2:24 that morning. That was a very hard podcast to do. They have seen, anybody watching me over the years who have followed me and everything else, they have seen me do the ugly cries on the things. They have seen me laughing so hard I couldn't even talk, and they've seen everything in between. So the good, the hard, the funny, and the heartbreaking, people get to see me react to things live. They get to see the hard ones, they get to see the good ones, and they get to see the ones in between. Life changes. The podcast changed because I changed. I changed the direction of where I was going, but you add up all of those and there's over 3,700 podcasts that were done. The podcast changed because I changed. It wasn't a failure, it's growth. It's as I grow as a person, you guys get to see that. I mean, you can go back and watch some of my earlier ones. In fact, I will tell you how far back this goes. So back in 2014 is when Casey started his mastermind group, and I was like, I'm in. As soon as he said he was doing a mastermind group, I'm like, I'm in. I'm sitting next to Brad, and I'm trying to think, how do I tell my software architect, engineering mind husband that we need to do this? Because I'm fly by the seat of my pants. I'm all over the place, as on some of the podcasts you will see. I will change subjects in between, in the middle, and then come back again. But something that Casey said clicked with Brad, because I'm sitting there for however long I couldn't even tell you what Casey's presentation was. I didn't even know all I knew is that he was doing a mastermind and I wanted in. That was all he said. We're starting a mastermind. It's called Platinum in a Circle. And that was it. I heard nothing after that. I'm sitting there for the next however long it was, trying to figure out, how do I tell Brad that we need to do this program? And as Casey's going, and we're in the front row, so as Casey's turning like this to turn his microphone off, Brad turns to me and says, we're doing this, aren't we? I had just spent however long it was worrying what I was going to give him, what I was going to tell him to get him to do this. And something Casey said tweaked with him, and we did that. And so part of that was getting me to do podcasts. At the time we used Blog Talk Radio, they are still up and people are still listening to them. We did these back in 2014 into 2015. People are still listening to our podcast from back then when I was doing travel. And one of the ones I did was on the Galapagos. I did this whole 30-minute thing on the Galapagos. I've written down all these little facts on my thing, had my little bullet points, and had studied it well and really wanted to go because I want to go see the blue-footed boobies. That's the name of a bird, blue-footed boobies. And they have the red-footed boobies as well. They're birds. They have these really, they're just quirky-looking birds. Go onto YouTube and look up the blue-footed boobies. They're absolutely hilarious. They've got these large feet that they try and walk with, and they have these really cool little mating dances and everything. They're really cool birds. And so I was talking about the Galapagos for the 30 minutes. And when I finished the call, it was on Blog Talk Radio, so there was no video. When I finished the call, I then went into the next room where Brad was, and he is sitting there cracking up, laughing like crazy. And I looked at him and I went, well, how was that? And he goes, it's Galapagos, not Galapagos. For 30 minutes, I talked about the Galapagos. Did I take it down? No. Is it still up there? Yes. Are people still watching it? Absolutely. But hey, it was in the beginning. I was nervous about doing radio, even though I wasn't on video. It was okay. But, you know, you have the good bag and the ugly and the crazy stuff. So we do crazy ones as well. And you never know who's watching. That's the cool thing about the last 7 years. You never know who is watching any of the episodes that you do. And that's because, you know, somebody could, and you don't know the effect you have on people unless they tell you. And I have had messages from strangers over the years that have said, thank you so much for this podcast that you did, and told me their story. And like one conversation can change somebody's day. You don't know what's going on in anybody's life, but you could get on, you could do a podcast, and something you say in that podcast clicks with that person, and you've now just changed their lives for the better. And sometimes you'll never know. Sometimes you'll get a message from a person saying, hey, thank you very much for the information that you shared. It was great. It was awesome, blah, 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 blah. And then others you won't hear anything from. But my intent is that with these podcasts, if I can help one person, I have done my job. Will I know about them? No. Will I know about them? Maybe. I won't know all the people that watch me. I will know some of the people that watch me. I'm just trying to think what else I've got on here. So we've talked about RV travel. We talked about adopting Zeffie and some of the cool stuff that she got to do. We talked about the COVID lockdown. We moved back to New Zealand last year. That was from when Zeffie passed on the 27th of July through to October 31st was very, very high stress, high anxiety, high overwhelm, high grief time. I was also depressed during that time as well, but I got on every day and did this. Sometimes you got to see a glimpse of that and sometimes you didn't. At one point, I thought I wasn't going to get home. I really did. I was getting depressed because I didn't think I was going to make it home because there was so much to do. And people buying stuff in Arizona is very different from people buying stuff in California. In California, you put one thing on, then you get about 30 replies. Put something up on OfferUp or Craigslist in Arizona, nothing. Literally nothing. There was like a household of furniture that got donated to Goodwill, to churches, whatever, wherever it was needed. So moving back to New Zealand, they got to follow me on that one there. Building businesses along the time. I've told them about the different businesses that we've had along the time. Songwriting is something I came into in 2024 when I wrote my first song. It was called The Best Me I Can Be. And I'd written the script, I'd written the lyrics, but I didn't know how to compose the music for the singers and all that. How do I get a singer to sing it? And then it was like almost a year later after I had written, it was in September 2024. Then in like May or June of 24, 25. Did I do that last year? Was that last year? Hang on. Of course, this doesn't say on here when that was. If you scan this code, you'll get to hear a really cool song. Just holding this up on TikTok for people if you want to scan it and you get to hear a really cool song. And then vote which one you like. This was the song that came out of a thing I said on podcast one time. I said, all I can do is be the best me I can be. And that started nutting around and I started writing out the words. And it wasn't until 23, September 2023 is when I wrote the song. And then 2024 is when I discovered Suno. Somebody told me about Suno. So I went on there and found that you have to do the paid version in order to keep your licensing rights for your song. And so I did that and released it. and ended up releasing a female version and a male version, then had ChatGPT create what they looked like. This is what they look like. This is Tui Ross. Tui is my favorite bird, one of my favorite native birds in New Zealand. They got a really cool song. And Ross is the clan I descend from in Scotland. And this is Brodie Carmichael, and he was named after my third great grandmother. Her last name was Brodie, and her mother-in-law, so my fourth great grandmother, was Carmichael. That's how he got named. And so that's the same song. They both sing it. They both got different versions of it. Same song, same lyrics, just different deliveries. So we sent out that card to a whole bunch of people and got them to go listen and vote for which one they liked. And then last year I got into writing more songs. I know in 2026, aren't I? So maybe it was 2020. No, because it'd been out when Zeffie got, but well, yeah. And so I wrote some more songs this year. I tell you, it's a crazy world. And I've been using Suno to do the voices and the and there's some of my people, hang on. So when they got those that got my St. Patrick's Day card this year, this is my St. Patrick's Day card. In here is a QR code. There you go. You guys can go scan that. And if you scan the QR code, I'll put it up here so you guys can see it. If you scan that code, you'll get to hear the Irish jig that I wrote. Again, Suno did the music and the voice. I just did the lyrics. And then for the 4th of July, the US celebrating 250 years, of course, we had to have a patriotic American sing the song. So this is Wade Jefferson Callahan. We came up with the name. And he's the one that sings our America Celebrates 250 Years. And you guys will want the QR code for that one. So here's the QR code for that one. If you scan that, you'll go hear that song that we've got. I have to hold it straight. There we go. That's straighter. Try and get the light off it. There we go. So if you scan that, it'll take you to play that song. And that was another one that we did. Do I have any other cards? Oh, the other one's out on the table. I've got one that I randomly send out 5 mugs to people every month, and it comes out with a card, and in the card is a QR code for another song that I wrote that's called "Have a Super Fantastic Sparkling Day," which is my mantra. And I also have the I've got one that was released a month or 2 months ago, and it's called "No Matter What Happens," and it talks about the night that Brad passed. Because it talks about the whiteboard up here on the side. That was another live I did. We'll get back to that one in a second. That had "Welcome Home, Brad" on it, and I thought I need to change that. And so I went and erased that off the board, and I thought, what can I put? And I thought, no matter what happens, today is always, and I put always in capital letters, super fantastic and sparkling. When you hear that song, if you go to Celtic Fern Studios on the YouTube, it has the song there, and the picture is the actual whiteboard. There's a picture of the whiteboard with "No Matter What Happens Today is Always Super Fantastic and Sparkling." I drew some little sparkles on it, put my initials there, HMB, and it's all there on the photograph, and you just listen to the song with that sitting there. And on Brad's gravestone, across, because it's a shared gravestone, I've got my information on one side, his information on the other side, but across the bottom, and I told him that if I went first, he had to put that on there, I was going to come back and haunt him. So he went first, so I got to put it on there. It says, "Today is always super fantastic and sparkling," across the bottom of the tombs of his headstone. So yeah, but going back to one of the lives that I did, and I've done this with every place. Yeah, so when we were in Solana Beach, when I left Solana Beach and we cleaned the house out and all of that, I turned on all the lights in all the rooms, and I started at the back bedrooms and worked my way through the house, showing them the house, telling them stories about different things. And then the last one was to close the front door and lock it. And as I closed the front door and locked it, I declared my life complete in that house. That was one of the lives that we did. Another one we did was the same in Surprise, when I left the house there on October 31st, had all the lights on in the house. And as I walked through the house, telling them stories and things and turning the lights off as we go. And then the last one was locking the door and declaring my life complete in that house in Surprise. Declaring my life in Surprise complete. So that was other lives that we've done along the way as well. But yeah, you never know what's going to happen. So moving back to New Zealand, that was all documented as some of the struggles we went through with that. The songwriting, met some incredible people, had some amazing, hey, Zan and Tom, They're friends of mine in Florida. They're awesome. Met some incredible people along the way. We've had guests coming in every now and again to entertain with. We've had fun with some guests along the way. Thousands and thousands of conversations along the way. So looking ahead, I don't really know what year 8 will bring. Tomorrow starts year 8 here in New Zealand, the 1st of August. But there's always been part of the adventure. I've learned not to script life too tightly. And I just keep opening the microphone every afternoon at 1 p.m. New Zealand time to be 5 p.m. To be 6 p.m. Pacific time. Although that will change when daylight saving, we go into daylight saving New Zealand, as the US goes out of daylight saving, that will change from 2 o'clock my time to 3 o'clock my time, but it is always 6 p.m. Pacific time. 7 years ago, this was supposed to last 1 year. Yeah. It turns out it wasn't about finishing a challenge. It was about building a habit, a community, a record of a life well lived. Tomorrow we begin year 8, and no matter what happens, today is always super fantastic and sparkling. Thank you to everybody who has followed us over the last 7 years. We're about to start year 8. What is that going to bring us? Who knows? We don't know. But I will tell you this. So with all that stress and overwhelm and everything else I went through after Zeffy passed and before I moved to New Zealand, before I caught my flight down to New Zealand, I had put a lot of weight on during that time. I got down to New Zealand and within 3 weeks dropped 54 pounds because I no longer had that stress. I no longer had the anxiety. I no longer had the overwhelm. I no longer had the depression. Well, it was still there just a little bit, but not as much as it had been. The grief, it helped heal the grief a lot because Zeffy's spirit was very much in that house in Surprise. I don't feel her as much here because she's never been here, but I do have her recliner my recliner that became her recliner is back to being my recliner again. So I do have that with me. And I sit in it every day and feel her warmth. But yeah, because I lost all that stress, overwhelm, anxiety, and everything else, the physical weight that I was carrying as part of that just literally dropped off. I'm down 5 shirt sizes. This one is too big for me, but it's a very comfy shirt and I love it. And it has Expect Miracles written on the front of it. It's just a very comfy shirt. So I have been going around the different op shops. I love op shops, thrift stores, going in there, and I've got myself 10 new tops, which all fit. They're not baggy on me. And I said to and there was one pair of jeans I finally gave up. They were literally just hanging by about this much on my hip bones. And the back of them were very, very baggy. And I caught the view of them one day in the mirror and I said to Mum, these have to go. And she said, well, do you have other jeans? I said, I have a pair of blue jeans. She said, we need to go find you some jeans. I said, not yet. But now my pair of blue jeans, which is also stretchy denim as well, they're starting to get a little baggy again. So I think I'm down like 3, maybe 4 sizes in jeans. But yeah, the blue jeans are baggy, but not as baggy as the black ones were. So yeah, it's been health-wise, it has been a good move down here because it is saving my health and everything else as well. So we've been through a lot over the last 7 years, and we thank everybody who's chimed in and watched us, whether it's on a replay, whether it's watching us live. Thank you for tuning in and watching. It has been awesome. Well, thank you to Zan and Tom. They said they love my crown. I like my crown too. I got it on Coronation Day for King Charles III coronation. So I sat there in my dark purple house dress that I have, and that's how I watched the coronation in the RV. We were living in the RV at the time. That was a good day. So thank you to everybody who has supported us over the last 7 years, whether it's you're watching the replays, whether you're watching us live. We appreciate you guys tuning in and watching us live our lives and learning things from us, teaching us things. I've learned things through this. And with that, that's a wrap for year 7. Tomorrow I start year 8. And for now, we're going to keep going with our daily lives. So so this is a wrap with 2,556 days under our belts. Tomorrow will just be day 1 of day 8 at 2,557. So with that, we are out of here. Go out, have a super fantastic sparkling evening, and we'll catch you back here at 6 p.m. Pacific. For those of you who tuned in on TikTok for this special edition, thank you for tuning in. We'll try and keep bringing you guys in on the lives as well each day and see how that goes. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for the love.